we're back.
We are back on the Cavalry. This is a very special episode.
Well, hey, I didn't want to. My wife and I were pretty private people. Right. I didn't want to say anything before this, but she was pregnant for most of this podcast. And I know I didn't bring it up. I didn't want to talk about it, but we had a baby. We had our baby, little Ginger Michelle, 7 pounds, 8 ounces.
And, welcome to the Cavalry, Ginger Michelle.
Yeah, welcome to the short time listener, but I'm gonna use her immediately. Get her a Apple Music account so she can rate and review and subscribe.
Good.
So no, I'm like exhausted right now. But see, it's so funny because I wanted to come on here and like share all these experiences, but it's hard talking to a vet like you with 3 kids. There's nothing I can say that you're going to find remotely interesting, I feel like.
You don't have to say things for me, but you can just rehash things people have been saying for decades to people that don't have kids yet.
Right. It's the greatest day of my life, but we're exhausted. And it's like all these cliches. My wife and I, we talk about that all the time. Like even in marriage, you hate it. You hate like the temperature thing. Like you go, we're never going to be those people who fight about the thermostat. And then the next thing you know, it's like according to Jim, you're like, I'm like, why is it so hot in here? Like, just like, what do you mean? Is it hot? It's cold. Put on a sweatshirt. I'm like, you take off a sweatshirt. It's like,
yeah.
So
it's just like that with baby. It's like everything people say. It's just like, and that was one thing. Like when I was having, kids, I didn't. People are always like, oh, you're gonna have tons of material, but I was like, I kind of purposely fought it off because I was like, it's been done. I don't want to be that comedian that oh, now all he talks about is kid. But it's like, I wish I would have been more written down and all those observations, because I was so afraid of being like, oh, I don't want to be like seem like a hack, or I don't want to like people be like, oh, he's got kids now, he's not edgy. But it's like that is what I'm experiencing, and that's the most relatable thing. I mean, now people come out of shows and it's like new parents, couples, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like you were talking about my wife or my husband.
Yeah. No, it's so funny as comedians. Like I learned this lesson later in my career, right before it ended. It was sometime in March, but I did learn that we think about that stuff way too much. We overthink all of that. Like, oh, this has been covered. Like, nobody cares in the world except for us, and usually most comedians don't care. It's like you have to be a very persnickety comedian to even like care about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think for sure I'll talk about that stuff in my act, but I have that I have that same instinct. I have that like happens to me. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be just one of those comics who makes fun of their kids or their wife or whatever, but I'm going to use it because I was telling you before we started, I don't know how you talk about anything else. I think that's what happens. Like all of your brain space now is dedicated to this kid. You have no time to really ponder. Like there was this whole thing on, I almost like tweeted something about it, but there's like kind of like an internet thing. There's this like monolith that kept showing up in different parts of the world. Like, oh, this monolith is in Egypt. And then, oh, look, it showed up somewhere. And I remember thinking, like, I caught that story, and I was like, I have no time for this. I can't figure out what this is. The old me
gives a shit.
Gives a shit. Like, how's that going to impact my life? I have no time. Like, the old me would have really gone down the rabbit hole, figured it out. Like, is this a marketing monolith? Like, what is this? Is it all for Subway? I would have figured it all out. But I was like, I have no time for this anymore. And you realize that's how you become a dad. You're like, what the goddamn hell? Get it out of here. I don't have time. Look at the lawn.
True.
Oh my God. It's happening. And it's all the cliches are true. So
it's so true. Whenever Aaron and I like, we'll have like a tiff or whatever. And then I'll be like, oh my God, I got to be careful. If she leaves me, I don't have a wife or a career anymore. My whole act. My whole act is gone if my wife leaves me.
That's so funny you say that, because I've seen comics before, and you're not like this at all. Your act is, one, hilarious, but then two, very like loving towards your wife. You can tell you actually love your wife.
Yeah.
Some comics you watch and they talk about how much they hate their wife.
I know.
And then you're like, okay, small caveat. He hates his ex-wife. He might not have mentioned it during the show, but he's clearly a bitter divorced man, which whatever is fine. But for some reason, they don't like to bring that part up. But yeah, like the whole time you're watching it, there's some guy's like bitching about his wife the whole show. And you're like, you guys don't, it's not like a lot. You don't have to stay together if you hate it that much.
You guys are like enemies. Wow.
Yeah. But no, so we have a baby, and look at me. I'm still carving out time, precious time I could be bonding with my newborn daughter to podcast. How about that?
I know. Oh my God. I was bracing myself for that email. Hey, Johnny, it's been fun, but
no, I can't send that to you.
31 episodes out of it.
No, see, that's what's bullshit, because you have 3 kids, so there's nothing I can say to you. You have no sympathy. You have no time for that. You're gonna go, oh, 1 kid. Oh boy, how do you find the time, Andrew? 1 kid. Wow, and she sleeps most of the time. Oh, it must be tough. No virtual school, no
Oh God, you're depressing me as you remind me of all this stuff.
You have no sympathy for me at all. I can feel it. So I can't go to you. I can only go to my single friends or my friends without kids for sympathy. But any friends with kids already, they're like, that's what. Oh, and that kind of leads me, if we can do it, what I need backup on my first one.
Oh yeah,
Can we do it? This is a good transition, because I think I can't even remember if I brought this up before. Maybe when Heidi was on, she brought this up. But like, there's this whole thing of the like, you just you wait. That's when you're about to have a baby. It's like, oh, you think it's gonna be great? Just you wait. And I thought, okay, finally, now we've had the baby.
Mm-hmm.
I get to be in the club. I get to be one of the people who gets to tell other people, just you wait. And I can tell you what it's like, But what I realized is that it never ends, because now, like, so my daughter is like 5 days old.
Right.
And I wanted to be like, okay, see, now I'm in the, I know about the breastfeeding.
I'm a dad. I've been a dad.
I'm a dad, technically and literally. I am a dad by all legal, standards. But you can't, because then everyone's still ahead of you. No matter how far along this point I get, everyone is still ahead of me. So like we had somebody, I can't remember, someone brought over, was very nice, neighbor brought over like chili or something. And I was like, oh yeah, we're getting up a couple nights, but she's a pretty good sleeper. They're like, oh yeah, 4 or 5 days. Oh yeah, she'll sleep good now. She gets to 10 days. Oh, look out. That's when they really get cranky. That's when they start to cry a lot more. And I'm like, oh shit. So this is just never going to end. So like at 2 weeks, 2 years, 5 years, they'll just keep telling me 18. They'll just keep telling me that it gets worse soon. Why doesn't anyone, so what I need backup on is, why doesn't anyone ever say, okay, this is tough, but it's going to be nice. No one ever gives you that anecdote.
Well, I think people have at some point, like, because it will. There are things, I can't think of any. Unfortunately, I can't think of any specific examples, since you're in the spot where they sleep majority of the time.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, just your happiness level. Like, okay, you have a brand new baby. It's beautiful. You're in love. And like, I remember more with Phoebe, our third, where I was like, okay, yes, this is the phase. But I was like, all right, she's beautiful. I love her, but she's very boring. And I would get like, I was like, okay, I'm excited for her to get to the stage where she smiles and knows she's smiling.
Yeah.
Just muscle, whatever.
Oh yeah, we have to fake it. Like, we're trying to take pictures in moments that looks
Mhm.
like she's smiling, but she clearly has no capacity for
Right. She doesn't
joy
know
at this moment.
joy. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like no way she's actually understanding or laughter or anything, which is weird. But yeah, no, I know what you mean there.
But also like I mean, and I totally agree with what you're saying. People always are like, "Oh, just you wait," and it's the most condescending. I mean, it's very similar to the when you would bring up the things about the pregnancy when people are like, "Oh, you know, they do the
That's what
same
I mean.
thing."
It doesn't end. It never. I thought that it would. I thought I would get into the club at some point, but you have to have like you have to be like that Supreme Court justice. You have to have like 9 kids,
You
and
don't want to be in that club.
I guess not. I guess I don't. But
The asshole condescending dude, like I got a buddy, he's like, because me and Aaron, when we I don't know, you know, our kids were little, we didn't even have Phoebe yet, and I told him, I was like, he's got an older kid and younger kids, whatever, and I told him, we're like, yeah, I think that I think we're not gonna have our kids get their license until they're 18 instead of 16, just for, you know,
uh-huh.
whatever, because they're 16's young and blah blah blah. And I mean, my younger brothers did that, but and he was like, "Oh yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, I'll talk to you when they're that's hilarious. That's hilarious that you're saying that. Like, oh geez, excuse me,
Yeah.
just you didn't have the willpower or patience to, you
Oh,
know,
I
what,
know. I know. And
like,
like,
oh, we have to make all the same decisions as you, and we don't know any better, and we're so naive because we're not there yet."